joining me on the same time zone. I love it when we're on the same time zone as people. The amazing Marylou, Laughlin. I think you're down in New York, are you?
Actually, I'm in Florida. I'm in DeLand, Florida. I just moved down here.
Oh, wow. You're staying there all through the winter and the summer?
Yeah. It's my new home.
Oh, fantastic. How's the weather, Marylou?
It just turned lovely today. I turned my heat off and I opened the windows and the air is blowing through and it's a beautiful day here.
Well, what a good place to be based. Marylou, first of all, let's say a big congratulations on your Lifetime Achievement Award in skydiving parachuting. What an honor.
Well, it's an honor to have received it, and it's been an amazing journey. And like I said at the Nationals where I received the award, you Regan, you have been on the journey with me. You are part of my story for receiving the award. And so many people in that room were also part of the journey, and it's continuing. So it's not about me, it's about us.
Yes. Yeah. How did you find out? When did it first come to your attention that this was happening?
I thought I had COVID and I thought I was dying on my sofa when I got the phone call.
Wow.
And the entire board was, on the other end of the phone when they called me, and a couple people were like, "You sounded like death." It was like, I felt like death. I could barely get a thank you out.
Wow. But you probably couldn't even register it for a little while. It probably took some time.
Yeah, it was amazing. And the really cool thing that happened was, it was such an honor to have that. And having been in a board meeting for so many years, sitting there when that call happened to somebody else, right, to have it be me that was receiving it was, I wish I was feeling better.
Yes. Wow.
And then, the world started to get a hold of me and congratulate me. And I received a phone call from Pat Thomas congratulating me. Yeah. And she said, "Have you thought where you want this to be presented? Because it's the recipient's choice."
Oh, right.
And I'm like, "Honestly, Pat, I'm really not feeling very well. And I hadn't even gotten that far yet." And she said, "Well, I have a couple of ideas." And I just chuckled to myself thinking, "Of course you do, Pat."
I can hear her saying it.
And anybody that's listening, Pat, and, from the bottom of her heart, she's an amazing woman. And she was going to, at the Nationals, was working with Larry Hill to be able to give one of Pat's parties to honor all of the people that the competitors in Russia, in Tanai. And she said, "What about piggybacking that award?" And I'm like, what a better place at the U.S. Nationals, and a Pat Thomas party. And I was also in Tanai. So it just rang true. And, it was a spectacular evening.
Fantastic. Marylou, many achievements. Not your first award. You were an honorary Golden Knight in 2014.
Oh, that was incredible. I had been on so many teams with the Golden Knights, and they're my brothers and sisters, and to get that accolade was, they're both of these are incredible. So,
Well, before we go back in time and find out where it all began for you, can you tell everybody what it is you're working on now? With the canopy piloting and all the rest of the judging, what is your focus these days, 2022?
Okay, well, next month I'm going to be teaching a Nationals judge course at Sebastian.
Yeah.
Then I'm going to be teaching in May another judge's course in Eloy, because Larry has his new big pond. So we need to get some judges rated in that area so that, he can keep the pond active and make it worthwhile to be pumping all that water into a pond in the desert. Yeah. Then what goes on? It was a huge honor to be invited to be the meet director for the World Games in Birmingham, Alabama.
Yes.
So, and I'm now involved in the organizing committee to help make that be the best possible event that it ever could be, especially since it's in the United States of America. My red, white, and blue stars and stripes come out. So
Amazing, amazing. So it's all going on for you. And
Yeah.
you started jumping in Connecticut. Am I right in thinking that's the oldest drop zone? Is it one of the oldest drop zones in the world or in the States? What is it?
It is arguably, there's probably Malone, a couple of other places have come to light, but it is one of the oldest skydiving centers and clubs in the United States. It's still a club.
Yeah.
Orange was, of course, before that. So there were definitely skydiving centers, but it was the oldest and is still going forward to this day, club.
Amazing. I've been there. I've visited it. It's got, you can feel the weight of history about it. It's a beautiful place.
Yes, they call it the the home of champions because so many champions have come from there. So the Roger Ponces, the Randy Thompsons, the Billy Boudreaux, the list goes on and on.
And
Jack Jeffries. Let's not forget Jack Jeffries. How could I have done that?
Jack Jeffries was there, right? And you started in 1998. What? How did that come about, Marylou? Did you have
1988?
1988. Did you have people in your family who were involved in aviation or air sports or anything? How did it all start for you?
The honest truth is, when I was little, I used to dream that I could fly, and I had always wanted to, and it was sort of just in me. And I had been looking to, and like a lot of people, find somebody else to jump with the first time. For some reason, I wasn't going to go do it alone. And I had actually decided I was going to jump about 10 years before, when Connecticut Parachutists was closed and they were jumping at Simsbury Airport. And I had met a guy at that Friday night at the bar that was going to go jumping, that jumped the previous week. And I think I got so excited that I had a little bit too much to drink. And the next morning I woke up and there was like, no way I can jump out of an airplane. I will throw up.
Yeah.
So it never happened. Turned out that guy broke his leg. So it was probably a good thing. It was during the day of the chest mounted reserves and round parachutes. And, who knows if I would have continued. But when I did, it was my now ex-husband and my best friend and my best friend's husband. We went, but it was only my best friend's husband and I that jumped. And he never wanted to make another jump. I landed and I was there the next weekend in the rain wanting to skydive. It's like, and I got an expert skydiving license in my first year. I was absolutely addicted from the first moment.
What was it? What was it about it which hooked you so quickly?
I could fly. I could fly.
Yeah.
It made my heart sing. It was just, I don't know I had ever been addicted to anything, but I was absolutely caught hook, line, and sinker with skydiving.
Fantastic. How far was it? How far was it away from where you were living at the time?
It was only about 35 minutes. So other people tell long stories about long drives. It was close. It was fairly easy to get to. And I actually started competing because that first year there was a circuit called MIPA, which was the Mid-Eastern Accuracy circuit.
Yeah.
And it would go to different drop zones throughout the summer. And it was in the fall at CPI, and they closed the drop zone down. There were so many people jumping in the competition. So I couldn't jump, which was horrible. Yeah. So I went up to Turner's Falls, and when I came back, I'm like, what am I going to do? And as it turned out, they said, well, you should compete. So Randy Thompson gave me one of John I's parachutes at the time that was the Challenger. So I had a Challenger that I started practicing on, and that's how I started competing. And, I used to, just, you had to land somewhere, and I thought this is a good idea. So I did formation skydiving and accuracy, and, sort of did both parallel. But my main thing was competing, doing accuracy. And my first meet was the World Cup up in Canada, which was the next year, which was a paraskiing meet.
Paraskiing. See, I'm really interested in this. Tell me a bit about the paraskiing, because I've never tried it.
It's incredible. It's too bad we're no longer doing it in the US, and they seem to be having a little bit of trouble internationally keeping it going also. But it's spectacular. It is jumping out of helicopters in the mountains.
Yeah.
I mean, there's nothing like exiting a helicopter over Snowbird, Utah.
You're right.
And you're in the valleys there. You take off from the helicopter, you fly up the valley, a little Cottonwood Canyon, you make it up to Alta, you turn around, jump run is coming back down, you're above the mountain peaks, so you can see as far as the spot needs to be over the tram or you're in trouble and you probably shouldn't be jumping. And you sort of watch what you're doing, you exit and you drop down into the valley and open your parachute. It is absolutely spectacular. And then on a separate day, you do the giant slalom ski racing, and then you get the combined scores to come together.
And you land on a 45-degree target as well?
Yes, you take your traditional, at that time it was a 5-centimeter disc on a 16-centimeter pad, take it, tilt it on a minimum of 45-degree slope.
Wow. I was talking to Mike from the German team in Qatar, and he was, after Qatar, he was going training with paraskiers.
Yeah.
Fascinating, amazing stuff. So what next? What was next for you?
So, the later in the year, I'm going to be the chief of chief judges. The U.S. Nationals are in Chicago this year at Skydive Chicago. So I'll be working Bill Winger, the meet director, and Rook and Tracy there to make that be a spectacular event. And they have come together with Skydive Midwest to have the canopy piloting part of the Nationals there. So that'll be exciting and fun. And what's coming up in the fall? The fall is, I'm also a trustee for the International Skydiving Museum and Hall of Fame. And we have our big event, the Hall of Fame event celebration in DeLand this coming year in October. And it's going to be honoring, finally, fingers crossed, please, COVID go away, the 400 way.
Right.
The world team 2006 for a 400 way largest formation world record. So that's going to be amazing to have all of them there. And at the end of this month in Phoenix, the trustees meeting will be voting on who the inductees are going to be this year for the class of 22. That will be inducted also there. And that's going to be at the Hilton on the beach. And Chris Gay and his incredible demo team are going to light up the sky on Friday night as the tribute jump for the 400 way, and then again the tribute jump for the Hall of Fame inductees. Amazing. So that'll be absolutely spectacular. And then Larry Hill is having his World Championship in Eloy after that. So that Sunday I have to hop on a plane and quickly fly out there. So it's a tight schedule.
How did the judging start for you, Marylou? I remember reading somewhere you wanted to compete better, you wanted to understand the sport better, and that's what led you into judging, right?
Yes. At Connecticut Parachutists was a gentleman who's no longer with us, Dick Barber. And he was an amazing internationally rated judge. And he took me aside when I started to compete. And he said, Marylou, what you need to do is learn the rules. The rules are the way you play the game. You're playing a game when you're competing. Yeah. And these are the rules that you're governed by. So learn the rules and learn how to play the game. And he then said, and a way to learn the game is to learn the judging piece of it, because that's how you're being judged. So Cheryl Stearns was doing her most jumps in a day at Rayford. And Sherry Shrimsher was there. And she was the chief judge for Cheryl for her world record. But she was going to stay and do a judge's course for the Golden Knights. So I went up to Sherry and asked her if I could be a part of the course. She said, go ask Gene Paul. So I went to Gene Paul and I said, Gene Paul, can I join the course? And he said, you better get your in there and take the course. If you know Gene Paul.
Yeah.
So I did. I took the style and accuracy judges course, nationals course with the Golden Knights under the tutelage of Sherry. So that's how I started with that. That year, went to go visit people at the collegiates that were in Sebastian. And the next thing I knew, the chief judge, who was Madeline Murdoch, asked me to come in the judge's room and judge. And I'm like, well, I wasn't competing, so I could. So I then started doing a lot of collegiate judging because I couldn't judge anything else because I was competing. So that's the beginning.
Yeah, yeah. And what year was this then, Marylou? When were we talking when you started the judging?
You'd have to look up and see when Cheryl Stearns got her world record. The one thing I don't do, people are going to laugh that know me, is I don't remember years.
Yes. Yeah. I'm the same, you know.
I don't remember the year I got married. I don't remember when my mother died, my father died. I do remember my first jump. It was July 17th, 1988. So that's how important skydiving is in my life. But the rest of the dates, it all sort of goes away.
So you're judging, you're competing a little bit, we're moving forward, you know, you canopy piloting started to come into your life and you get involved in that kind of judging. How did that start for you?
Well, at that point, I was on the board of directors.
Yeah.
And backing up just a little bit, I got on the board because I was competing. So I started to go to board meetings to learn that piece. And a guy that I was dating at the time, Carl Wilson, and I decided that we wanted to host the US Nationals back at Orange when it hadn't reopened yet. To go back in history and recreate it. So that was our goal. So we then went to a board meeting to see how you present a bid, to sort of learn what was going on. So that board meeting was in West Point, so it was close by. So went to the board meeting and learned what we could and sat in. And I then started to attend more board meetings after that. So I was then basically tapped by a number of people to run as the Northeast Regional Director. So people in my region and people on the board asked me to. Gene Paul was one, Larry Bagley, a number of people. So I ran as a board member and became the Northeast Regional Director. Then eventually Larry was my mentor and I became chair of the comp committee and then became the US delegate to the International Parachuting Commission. And it was because of that BJ came to me, called me on the phone. He was also on the board and on the comp committee. And he said, I'd like to put canopy piloting forward, swooping. We'd like to do swooping. And we'd like it to become in the Olympics. And it was when we had that big move to be in the Olympics in China. And he said, I've got a venue. Melanie at Paris is supporting it. Scott Smith has written the rules, and Lyle and Lyle Presley and Jim Slayton were involved. So, and Kiki at that time was involved. So we ended up, all of us were going to be at the Fantasy of Flight for different parts of skydiving. There was a little swooping that was going to be going on. I was doing big ways. BJ was doing big ways. So we had a meeting in a back dark hangar. And that's where we came up the name for canopy piloting. It was like, we can't call it swooping because it has a derogatory term. So came up with the name of, what is it? Well, it's canopy piloting. So that was when the name started. And, I had originally said to BJ, I said, I don't think there's a way this is going to fly. We're killing the most people in the country with this event. The board isn't going to pass it, but sure, I'll try. So we moved forward. Jim and Lyle came and made an amazing presentation to the comp committee. Then we went on and made it to the full board, and the board amazingly voted on it and agreed to go forward with this bid. And that was the first year I was actually the US delegate. I had been to many International Parachuting Commission meetings before, and then I became the US delegate, and it was in Brazil. And we went down to Brazil, and the next thing you know is the IPC, that's now the ISC, adopted canopy piloting. And we then went to Paris, and that's where it all started. It was a collaboration between the judges, which was Kiki, that knew how to do canopy piloting, and the international FAI judges, and Sylvia Wagner was the chief judge, and Kiki were co-chief judges. And then we had a crossed judging course to be able to teach each halves the other half.
Yes.
It was a wonderful experience to be a part of. And I've been involved with it ever since. I mean, it's my passion, and I just love it.
Yeah. I mean, it's incredible what Eloy have done with that pond there. It looks absolutely amazing.
It is truly amazing. You can go in both directions for everything.
And for the in Birmingham, for the games, what's their pond going to be like? Is it going to be smaller pond? Is it going to be different than what we're used to seeing?
We're working on that right now. So anything I say could change.
All right.
Plan is to be a little bit smaller, but it's, we will make it be absolutely incredible.
Yes.
So, but those, we're working on it right now. Yes.
So how much time is it taking with all this activity that you've got going on in your life? I mean, more than a full-time job, it's got to be every day.
I am doing something with, if it's not the museum, it's now going to be with Birmingham, or it's with judging, or last year, because of COVID, I became the chief judge for the FLCPA. So I've been doing that, working with Kurt and Jeannie, and starting to foster some new judges coming up. So it's exciting. And the other thing in my other life, I do Reiki with animals. So I do that, and I've started a nonprofit, Reiki Wildlife International, but that got started right before COVID. So, and that is to teach animal sanctuaries and people around the world how to do Reiki to help animals and their community.
Oh, what a lovely thing to be involved in.
Yes.
Yes. And the skydiving museum, has there been any developments with that over the COVID times, over the last couple of years? How's that getting on?
Well, the really incredible thing is the board voted to go forward, even though we were dealing with COVID. We were starting to look at the land down in Florida and starting to move in that direction right when COVID hit. And the board decided, under the tutelage of Kurt Curtis, the president, that we were going to keep going. So we've continued to move forward. We had the grand reveal last April for the land that we purchased right near Disney, in, just outside of Orlando, or in Orlando. So we're moving forward with that, and it's a very, very exciting time for the museum. We're talking and working with the architect right now to start to get the actual plans for the property. And what we have done is, our property is going to be in the middle for the museum. And on one side, we have the horizontal wind tunnel.
Right.
And on the other side, the property is being held. There's a group of people that have very generously purchased it to hold it for a vertical wind tunnel to be built there in the future. Yeah. So what it is going to be is skydive experience, which will be all three entities coming together. So it's going to be amazing, and it's just going to be right in the playland of everything in Orlando.
Fantastic.
I mean, right there.
Sounds absolutely amazing.
It is absolutely amazing. And it's exciting for me to be a trustee at this time period, to really, really help all this move forward. And what we are in a big process right now is fundraising. And once we figure out the dollar amounts that we currently have, in our account, what we can do, then we will know what we can build and how we're going to build it. So, to make a plea to all skydivers out there, or anybody, we are absolutely in a major fundraising mode right now. And it is about our past, our present, and our future. It's a skydivers museum. It's for all of us. So that's my plea for that.
Well, I think that's a good way to wrap it up. We've got half an hour under our belt. I think it's been a great chat. Marylou, sounds amazing to see you and see your smiling face. And I look forward to seeing you at one of these events coming up, hopefully this year. But
I hope to. It's always exciting to see you and to listen to you. And I have to say, one last final thing on the judging tapes, when I use them to sort of go through classes and teach people,
yes.
A lot of times your voice is there in the background. So you are always with us. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Hopefully when I'm gone, I'll still be there as well. Oh, brilliant. Thanks for the time and thanks for the catch up, Marylou. And say hello to everybody down there at Dylan.
Yes, thank you.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye, everybody.